All right, welcome to the New Legend podcast, where we celebrate vintage 4x4s, adventure, family, culture, and being a man in the 21st century. And today, being a woman in the 21st century. And speaking of that, we're here with Luke.
Hello. Oh, I see what you did. Okay.
Who is sweating
profusely.
Very hard.
It's hot. We're in.
Yeah. So
somewhere.
Again, anyway, we'll get into it. But we are also here with a group of wonderful young ladies. My oldest daughter, Lily, is here.
Hello.
And her two good friends, Becca and Sierra.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. And they took an epic journey this summer. So they're all in college, essentially. And they took an epic adventure to Hawaii. And now to some that may not sound like a big thing, but like these girls, we live in Iowa. So it's like not a common and like a lot of people live in California, like Hawaii is not a big deal to go to. So that is really cool. So we're going to talk about two main things and just let them talk and kind of get to know them a little bit and some of the things they learned through their journey. But we're going to explore the place of adventure as a part of like your family culture. So like exploring, how did you guys grow up? What was your family culture as far as like some travel or adventure or whatever, and how that played into your experience on this trip and your decision to do this trip. And number two, just the place that adventure and exploration and doing new things plays into your life as a young person. Okay, and we'll touch base. I'm pretty excited to touch base about these girls' perspective about being a man in the 21st century and again being a young woman in the 21st century. So before we do that, Luke, why don't you thank two companies that celebrate exploration and adventure?
Two companies?
Yeah, Kenda and FSR.
Kenda Tires, FSR.
What do you like about Kenda?
Make great tires. I need to rotate my tires, by the way. I forgot.
Yes.
Michael Higgs from Kenda says rotate them early and often. But the tires are great. I mean, we've had them 12,000 miles now. Tons of road trips.
The Cleaver RT.
Cleaver RT's doing great. Great in the mud. We were ripping around on dirt every day, so be looking for that episode.
Yes, that was fun.
FSR tents. I've never actually slept in one, but Sean says they're awesome.
Yes, so
Peasants.
I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of like rooftop tents. Lily, have any of you guys slept in a rooftop tent?
We'll get
Lily
there.
definitely has, but you have not also slept in the FSR.
No.
But Lily's like on our trips. Lily has been kind of my tent setting up buddy, so I've always appreciated her, like fighting with zippers and those little metal poles. And I understand that's a traditional way to go after a rooftop tent, but FSR has like kind of said like let's think about a new way to do it. So it's so nice that it takes like 1 to 2 minutes and your tent is set up and you're off the ground. And we were just in Colorado on a family vacation in Estes Park, camping and exploring, and the FSR was a hit and it was rad. So anyway, check out those guys at FSR. There's a code NL200 and you'll get a $200 off any tent purchase over $1,500.
Sweet.
So if you want to check it out, check them out.
Wow.
And thank you to those companies. Okay. As typical, we start with kind of this rite of passage about driving. We love driving. But I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think? So first off, how old are you guys?
I think we're all 19.
Yeah.
19.
19.
Yeah.
Young, so young.
So
That's your whole life ahead of you.
I hope so.
Yes, me too. So what do you think is going to be the future of driving? Or do you not think about that? Wait, let me ask you this. Have you ever lost more than a minute thinking about what is the future of driving going to be like?
Absolutely not. Yeah,
I've only thought about it like if robots are going to be driving us or
Okay.
like those Uber flying things. Like,
Yeah, right. Okay, flying.
Or like the
Drones.
AI
Uber flying?
ones. Yeah. But
Okay.
that's only because of me.
But like, so from your perspective, because like Luke and I have talked about this a ton, and those of you guys that listen to the podcast all the time, I mean, our guests are typically dudes and are passionate about like driving is so important.
Right.
It's an expression of freedom. It's an expression of competence, particularly off-road driving and just chilling out, whatever. And it's a big rite of passage. But for you, you guys all have a license, correct? And you have a car?
Yes.
What kind of cars do you have?
Come on.
Talk right there.
Now I have a Honda CRV.
Boring.
Boring. But I used to have a Jeep Cherokee. 1999.
That was sweet.
It,
Okay.
was it 99?
Yeah.
Yeah, 99.
Okay, and Sierra, what about you?
I have a Nissan Sentra right now, but I used to drive a Ford Ranger pickup,
Okay,
and that
that's
was
kinda
my
fun.
favorite.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's rad.
Yeah.
I
Becca?
also used to have a 98 Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Really?
Yep, but she died, so now I have a Ford Escape.
Yeah.
Escape.
Yeah.
Escape.
Yeah.
Escape. Yes.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
I have a little crappy Sentra. That's why he's so
Yeah,
excited
But
about
gotcha.
it's a like sport edition. It's pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
it's sweet. White 5-speed.
So does it? So they say like that your generation essentially is the last generation that will have to learn how to drive to participate in the American experience. Like, so your
Interesting.
children, if you have children, will not have to learn how to drive. They'll be like autonomous driving. It'll be
Okay.
like. So our question is always like, what is a similar rite of passage? Because when you it's like, oh, I get to Uber now. Oh.
Oh, cool.
So do you feel like driving was a significant thing?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
Yeah. I could finally like drive to pick myself up food for the first
Yes.
time, or I don't know,
Or
go
go
to
and-
practice.
yeah, hang out
in
or
high
chill with
school.
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So independence, a little bit of freedom. So, okay. That's great.
Were you guys all like the day you could get your license? Were you at the driver's license
Yes.
station
Yeah.
waiting? Okay.
That's cool.
I was
I
the
wasn't.
No.
I was the latest out of all my friends to get my license.
Me too.
So I feel like I kind of
Oh,
missed
yeah.
that rite of passage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because everyone was
Somebody
already
took me
driving.
around.
So, I
So
was
they were
just-
driving you around.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
all super young for
Yeah.
our classes, so like we were like still taking the bus when all of our friends were driving around and stuff. So actually, yeah, that
Yeah.
is an interesting perspective.
And just a quick side note, if you hear like it sounds like we're in a urinal. Giant
That's the
urinal.
sweat running off.
As
me
Luke is
dripping
sweating.
over.
We're in a conservatory, right? At Ryman Gardens at Iowa State. So we're talking about these girls took a trip to Hawaii. And so if you watch this on YouTube, bam, you can
Right there.
you can see this looks and feels like Hawaii,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it actually does.
It's
Yeah.
still, the air is still.
It's very still.
Luke is struggling. You'll see Luke's hair
Air is
get
thick.
progressively wetter.
Is
and
it
wetter.
worse? I can't even.
Okay, so let's talk briefly about what you guys did and what was the vision and how did it come together?
Okay, so it started out with my mom, his wife, went to Hawaii for school growing up, and she would always tell me about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I should probably do that when I'm in college. I'll get around to it. And then we were kind of thinking about, I don't know, what we should do for
With
this
our
summer,
summer.
as like this would be our last one before things get crazy and life happens. And so this past winter, me and Sierra just started. I don't know. We just kind of.
Brainstorming, dreaming.
We were like, oh wait, what about that Hawaii trip that we?
So that was
talked
like
about?
early in the genesis. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
oh, let's go to Arkansas.
No.
Okay.
It was like straight Hawaii.
Only Hawaii.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then,
Lily brought it up to me, and I'm not super adventurous, but I was like, yeah, I'd go. Sure, like you plan it, I'll jump on. But I didn't think it would actually get planned.
Yeah, I didn't think
Or-
it'd get planned either,
Yeah.
but me and Lily started planning.
Okay, so one thing we talk about, we've had actually a whole episode devoted to this. We call it From Dream to Dirt. Like, how do you go from the inspiration of an adventure or a journey, whatever you want to call it, to actually pulling the trigger? So you guys started getting a plan together. What was the moment, the committing moment when you said, we're locked in, we're doing this?
When we bought the plane tickets one night after we were hanging out with friends, and me and Lily were like sitting in a bedroom trying to buy these plane tickets, I think that was the moment that it was like, okay, this is happening.
So that was
but also, before that, we started telling people about it.
Yeah.
So that was probably the
Okay.
beginning
I was like,
of
guys,
it.
stop telling people. What if it doesn't happen? Like,
Yeah, I
but
like
then,
that.
like once we bought our plane tickets, that was like, okay, we bought these. We have
We
to
have
go.
to go.
We
Yeah.
can't.
And how
just-
much
just
information,
waste
like
a
how
plane
much
ticket.
planning did you have done at that point when you bought tickets?
we didn't have a place to stay,
Right.
so
We knew that we wanted to go to
Oahu.
Oahu,
Yeah.
and that we wanted to be on the North Shore. Had no clue what the North Shore looked like. Had no clue, like,
Yeah, so were you
just knew
envisioning
it was
like
famous.
a yurt or just like,
Yes.
well, we were looking for the cheapest housing possible, essentially,
For 2 months.
for 2 months, and we found a yurt actually, and like some other little dingy Airbnbs, some studios.
Can I ask a personal question? How much of this, so as young people, you obviously probably don't have a ton of cash.
Right.
So you come up with this dream, you come up with this loose, very loose plan, you buy tickets, which I love, and then now you're committed. How much of this came from your hands? Like meaning, did your parents just pay for it, or did you guys mostly
no.
pay for it?
I paid for everything that we spent.
Okay. So you worked and just did
Yeah,
whatever?
I worked. And
Okay.
so, like, I quit my job right before, but I had saved up throughout the year.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I paid for all of mine too. For the plane ticket, Airbnb.
Yeah, same. It was mostly about like saving up and then hoping that we would make our money back
Yeah.
when we got there.
Which is actually like very cool to hear as a father and as a dad. Those are the same things. But because it's easy to think like, oh, these like suburban girls just got
Right.
like their
Right.
parents just put them on a plane and
Right.
paid. No, but I think that's really, really cool that you
Right.
guys said we value this enough that we're going to pay for
Right.
it. And how did that? So as your plans coming together, you got the tickets, then you found a place to stay, Airbnb,
Yep.
not a sponsor. But a good resource, right? A cool tool.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
So little side note. Did you find that like the reviewing process, like what you saw online,
Oh, okay.
I read about it online. So what you read and saw the reviews, did that turn out to be true in reality? Like a fair representation, or was it like a ratty place?
I'd say that they, like, represented it better than it actually was. And it was hard to read through the reviews what it actually was. Like, they might say, like, oh, we found a cockroach, but it wasn't like,
They got
oh,
some big
this-
boys over there
yeah.
too, right?
Yes.
Luke, you ever see
Huge.
them?
Sierra was the killer. So.
Yeah. Would they be squishy?
I think the pictures that they showed like represented it, but they wouldn't show everything, if that makes sense. Like the bathroom specifically, the shower was like not nice, but
Kinda
they
like-
didn't show pictures of it, so we
Right.
didn't even like think of it twice
right.
when we
Yeah.
were planning.
And that's just a little travel tip. Like when
Yeah.
people are planning trips, I think the reviews are pretty important. And not like, I think actually what's important is to read the negative reviews.
Yes.
'Cause, like, for example, one time I was reading reviews about a campground, and they're like, it was a 1 star, and it was, so it was a negative review, but it was like we were being noisy, and the camp host came and yelled at us at 12 a.m. And I'm like, okay,
Oh, yeah.
so it's a negative review, but
Right.
I went, that's good because I like to sleep. I hate being annoyed
Right.
at 4 in the morning by a
Right.
dude yelling, I got my second win, woo! Remember that? That was so
I've heard that
annoying. Oh
story
my
a lot.
gosh. Okay, anyway.
I will say one funny story that came along with that is, so when me and Becca, we had the same flight, and so we like find our house off the 2.5 hour bus ride.
We got dropped off on a highway, dark, no lights.
So
Really?
just
we're
side
like
story.
going up the road, and so we get into the house, we punch in the code, and all of a sudden, Becca goes, Lily, there's no window. And so we're walking in the living room, and I'm like, yes, there is. It's right there. There's this huge window. Like, what do you think? 8
Like-
by 5?
Yeah, like giant
Foot.
window.
Takes up
Giant
the
window.
entire wall.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, there is. It's right there. And she's like,
I like walk over to it. I'm like, there's no window. It's just a hole.
it was a hole in the wall. So, I mean, we didn't know that
Yeah.
from
And in the
booking.
picture, it looks like a window with a screen or something over it.
You just can't tell.
But they have a code on the door.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Safety.
Yeah.
It's on the second story. though.
Okay, so you bought the
Anyway.
tickets. Now you found this Airbnb. Little side note from a parental perspective, because I think I mentioned this on the podcast. Like Lily didn't come to us and say, "Mom and Dad, can I go to Hawaii for the summer?" She
Right.
kind of said like, "Hey, Mom and Dad," and she's a good kid, trustworthy. She just said like, "Hey, I want to go to Hawaii this summer." Like, and what the one I could ask you, but I'll just tell you. The one piece of feedback that Heather and I cared about and me as a dad, I listen to this podcast. A little shout out to a podcast called Case File. If you're ever
The worst podcast.
no, it's
It is.
great. But it's about like unsolved murders and stuff like that. It's very interesting and
Remarkably depressing.
it's well done. Yeah, Luke doesn't like listening to it, but I've listened to enough Case Files that I said like, hey, my one thing is I don't want you like walking to work on a deserted tropical dirt road for 10 miles. And I look at they're like, guilty.
No, we didn't.
But I want you guys to stay together. The buddy system, 2 is good, 3 is like the statistics of like crimes against women
Right.
are highest solo, lower to exponentially lower for groups
Right.
of 3. And so that was my advice. Hopefully you guys stuck to that
We
a little
actually
bit.
did. We
Yeah.
literally never left each other's sides.
Yeah.
Which later we'll get to like
Right.
being young women, having to think about that because like Luke, I'm sure when you went to Iceland, you weren't like nervous for your safety in a
No.
way. Maybe like that. Maybe you guys weren't, and that's cool.
I'd
So-
say, yeah, I was definitely the most worried about that.
about yeah,
Safety and
right.
yeah.
So I'd just be more conscious of it and less worried.
Yeah, I like that.
Because, like, I'm not going to let it make me stay home.
Right.
So I'm not going to worry about it.
Right.
But I'm just going to be conscious of it when
And
I
not
leave.
naive.
Yeah.
Like there's this one story in Australia,
Yes.
in the Belangolo forest, where like this dude essentially would just pick up females at first, and then he started doing couples, but like hitchhikers, and it's like, duh, don't take ride from creepy people in the middle of national like nowhere.
Right.
And so there's a little bit of street smarts that probably plays in this year. I wonder if that you're growing up traveling
Yeah.
played into that. So let's finalize the plan. So you got the tickets, you find an Airbnb. Now what was you weren't just going for 100% leisure.
No.
Because money, again, I appreciate you guys paid for your own trip, but you had a money strategy, a loose money strategy. So talk a
Well,
little bit about that.
I mean, to like coming up to this, we tried to be as like planned and organized as we could. So like
Yeah.
I was looking up like the minimum wage and like calculating hours and like, okay, if we work this much, then we'll make back this much money and
That's
we'll
great.
come out even with this amount of hours each week. And we started out like trying to find
Yeah, like calling
Like
people. And
emailing. Yeah.
there's only so much you can do though.
Right.
From Iowa,
Right.
never being there, not knowing how their work environment works, or just like what places are legit places.
That's right.
You know.
So you get on the ground, your wheels down, you get your bus, you get to the Airbnb. How long, like, you guys found jobs.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's pretty fascinating to me. And like super stoked you found jobs basically to get like
In the
somewhere
same.
together.
Yes.
Yep.
Right next
So
to each
tell us about, was there any failed attempts to find a job?
There's a couple.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so pretty much every place there's hiring just because people
Quick
get up and
turnover.
leave, and people come to Hawaii for 6 weeks like we did and
Yeah.
then leave. So I think most places were hiring, so we kind of just like reached out to every place that was, and
at this point we didn't have a car, so we literally were just
Right.
walking
Yeah.
along the Kamehameha Highway.
Yeah.
The deserted
Like-
highway.
yep.
Just trying to find
understand.
like we
Yeah.
would like walk in there and be like, you guys hiring?
Yeah.
We're only here for a month and a half.
Right.
Except we wouldn't tell them that. We'd say here for the summer.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good technique.
So
So
I mean, it
you-
didn't take long to get people calling back of like, oh, can you come in tomorrow for
Really?
an interview?
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So you found jobs at a like interesting place.
Food trucks.
We found like 2 jobs. One was at a food truck / shave ice / surf shop. It was
I
just
love
this big like joint business.
Yeah.
All the same owner or different owners?
Yes.
Oh,
The
same
same
owner.
Shout out
Okay.
North Shore Surf Shop.
Liam McNamara, if you've ever heard of him. And then another food truck. And we wanted to, tip. We wanted to work at a food truck so that we wouldn't have to pay for as many groceries. So that we would like have meals
Yeah.
that would like to literally save money.
Yeah, some of your strategies, just listening to him, was like, that's pretty ingenious. Like
Yeah.
harvesting mangoes off of
Yes.
like public mango trees.
We
right?
went
Yeah.
grocery shopping once for 6 weeks.
That's amazing. And what
Yeah.
were some of the staples of your diet? Peanut butter?
Yeah.
Peanut butter.
and
Oatmeal.
Oatmeal.
We got free oatmeal from our Airbnb.
Yeah, the Airbnb
so
provided oatmeal.
Oatmeal.
Yes.
So
Like
we
just like a
ate-
giant tub of it?
No,
It's
it
like
was
straight
whole
up-
packets.
Straight up dry oatmeal?
Dry oatmeal.
Oh, that's good stuff. Did any of you eat it raw?
No.
I definitely
I
would.
don't think so.
You just pour some hot water in your mouth.
Swish it around.
Swish it.
Swish it.
Don't swallow.
Which
No, but we put peanut butter in our oatmeal.
Oh.
It's really
the
good.
only grocery store near us is the second most expensive grocery store in the U.S.
Wow.
So our peanut butter was
Jeez.
$10.
No way.
Yeah.
But it was
we
the
tried to make it
Bananas. Wait, really quick. Bananas are like, so they're like what, 29 cents a pound in like Iowa. They're like $2.39 a pound in Hawaii.
Remember in Cambodia,
You get
at
like
50 cents, you get like a giant bundle
Bushel,
of
yeah.
these
Crazy.
tiny little plantains. Are they bananas?
no, they're ice cream bananas.
Yeah, the little tiny bananas. And then the
Anyways.
monkeys chase you and try to get them from you. And I just say, not today, monkeys.
Yeah.
Funny story. I have a really funny story about monkeys in Cambodia.
For another time.
For another time. Yeah.
Another time.
Okay, so then you locked down this job.
Yep.
And how much did you work a week? How many hours?
Me and Lily ended up working like 100 total. So
Hours?
I think for, 100
Okay,
hours
rad.
total. We would do like 2 or 3 10 to 12 hour days back to back.
Oh,
and
really?
just like punch it out.
And I just worked 2 to 3 days a week, and it was just 8 hours.
Okay. But that's still really cool.
Yeah.
Like you didn't go just to lounge. You went,
Right.
and that what that does in a unique way is also immerse you in the culture
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
when you work.
We were.
Um,
Oh, sorry.
No, good.
We were just saying like, well, I was like just reflecting on it, and number one, I'm actually so glad that I got to experience it like first without vacationing there, as if it was like we just moved there. Like,
Yeah.
you get your routines, you find your jobs, you settle down in your house, like you put your clothes in your drawers, and like you just I don't know,
It wasn't
start
living out of a
living.
suitcase anymore. It was like,
And
We're
was there
here.
also other experiences that you were able to meet local people and immerse yourself into further into the culture of like of building community? Because I think Lily, you were telling me like they do like they call really close family friends. They call them like uncles
Yeah.
and aunts.
Yeah.
and-
everybody's aunt
Auntie
and
and
uncle.
uncles.
yeah, I think that's rad. Luke, have you ever been to Hawaii?
No.
Okay, same here, which is I'm 45 years old. I've never been. Heather and I, my wife and I, are celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary in August. Love you, Heather.
Congrats.
But we're going to Hawaii, so
Sweet.
Ah.
I'll get to walk in
Awesome.
your
You can stay at our
Footsteps.
Airbnb.
You
Yeah, look at
get a
windowless
job at a shaved
Airbnb.
ice place.
get a job. Yeah, we're only staying for 8 days. So. Mark that on the calendar, Luke. I'll be gone in September.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, so you got a job, working pretty diligently. Did you have any like pacts or like we're gonna definitely do this?
Yes. We made a pact that we get into the ocean every single day.
Yes.
Whether that was like we worked a 9 to 9 and like we get to the end of the day and we're like,
We have to go
shoot,
get
we
out
gotta
of
do
the ocean.
it.
Were you really close to the water?
Yeah,
We were on the-
our jobs were
basically
right
on the
across
water.
the street. So we like were looking out onto Shark's Cove, if you've ever heard of it.
Did the ocean
The whole
ever
time.
become? I always ask this. I always think about this. Like when we were in Estes Park, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous
Right,
there. Like
right.
the mountains in the background. And I always wonder if you live here, does that become white noise? Like, do you just go like? Do you stop paying
Noticing
attention
it?
to the mountains? Did you ever stop paying attention to the ocean and going like, dude, this is so amazing?
Well, there was one time when we got up to do a dawn patrol and we walked out to this crazy, amazing like view, and we just like all walked out onto the beach, and it was so beautiful. But I realized that none of us were saying anything. We just like all just kind of like had our sleepy eyes and like didn't really look at each other differently. But I just like had to sit there and like remind myself like I'm from Iowa and like this is crazy. Like this is one of the most beautiful scenes I've seen in a long time,
That's
and
right.
I'm not freaking out about it. I should be. So I
Yeah,
like,
that's cool.
but yeah.
And that kind of brings us back. I'm interested a little bit more on like on the hospitality and community, but we can get back to that. So being from Iowa, tell us a little bit about so Lily, you can talk about it, but from your perspective, what was like your family culture of travel?
My family loves to travel. My mom has a great big passion for it, and so my dad was kind of the one like, okay, we'll try to make it happen. I've gone on tons of trips with just my mom and her. My brothers, they're not as keen on it as I am. I get it definitely from my mom. And so I've gotten to see countries because of that, and just a bunch of different
when you guys
stuff.
like would go were they mostly international trips, or you go around the country, around the U.S. as well?
So we like international. My parents love Costa Rica. They want to retire there, so we've gone to Costa Rica
Okay,
3
that's
times.
awesome.
But yeah, we'd go to like California and Florida. Like it's mostly like just tropical based, or like we like the mountains, so we'd go to Colorado. But it's more of like just find a pretty place and like go there.
Yeah.
But
A lot of camping, or more
no
hotels?
camping.
Hotels?
More hotels or Airbnbs.
Okay.
Airbnbs for sure.
Okay, Becca, how about you? So you said you didn't necessarily grow up traveling a ton.
Yeah, so our travel was.
You have siblings?
Yes, I have 8 older siblings.
8
so I
older
think
siblings.
that probably played a role into it, just because it's hard to
Yeah.
get that many people
Well,
together.
let's just touch base on that really quick,
Yeah.
because you're young people,
Yes.
and like those trips all cost a lot of money.
Yes.
So it is like a thing of gratefulness to go. I'm
Right.
grateful that I grew up in a family that like had hardworking parents that we could afford to
Right.
travel, because a lot of people don't have that opportunity.
Yes.
And one of the things we value on this podcast, and a lot of the purpose of this podcast, is to inspire people to get out and travel and take trips. And we often, so in our world of vintage 4x4s, the temptation is, so I got this cool old Scout, and now I have to do like all this work to it so I can go take it on a trip.
Right.
And we always say like, no, just get a, I don't even care if it's a cool truck. It's better if it's a
Yeah.
cool truck. But I don't even care. Just get out and do it. Just go take
Yeah.
your first trip. And then you go, that was awesome. Sleeping on the dirt made my back hurt.
Yeah.
And my wife didn't like it. So therefore,
You learn so much through that experience. I'm sure as you guys did, but
yeah.
Yeah.
that's the quickest way is to
Yeah.
just do it.
And so, another little funny side note, Luke and Becca grew up in Ames.
Yes.
They're both Ames people.
Yeah.
But Luke, you knew her brothers growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, I used to jump on their trampoline when they were kids.
So that's awesome.
now here
so you
we
have-
are.
You have 8.
Yes, I have 8 older siblings.
Jeez, that's a big family.
Our travel was going to the Ozarks or Branson
Or Walmart.
or Walmart. And we would like tent camp. We would go
Okay,
we'd
fun.
go to lakes and
Yeah.
boat and tent camp, but we didn't ever go super far. In the past year, actually, I've done the most traveling that I have in my whole life, which is super cool because
And your family is supportive, and they're like excited.
yeah,
for you?
well, same thing with Hawaii. I kind of went to my parents. I was like, oh, hey, like, I'm going to Hawaii for the summer. Hope that's okay. Probably will still go if it's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've gone through 1 year of college, and I think in that 1 year, maybe it's the independence, I don't know, but I've definitely seen more of the U.S., and I went to Africa last summer, so
That's
I've definitely
neat.
done a lot of more traveling
Cool.
in this past year alone, which is sweet.
And then Lily, how about you?
What about it?
Just growing up, the kind of the culture of
Oh.
our family traveling.
I mean, I actually think it develops character traits. Like having a pattern of traveling develops certain character traits that I didn't even realize was from going
Interesting.
places.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Like even like handling stress well, or like problem solving, like all these little skills. Actually, I've seen that like I do pretty well in is from like getting out there and going places. Yeah, I don't know. I just like grew up when my dad would go and have to like deliver a truck to a customer in Oregon or
Yeah, and some of the trips in camping hotels, like we did some like uber gritty
Like-
trips that are just like when it's 110 degrees, sleeping in a Scout
In a Walmart
for
parking
7
lot.
days straight,
yeah.
driving cross country. And so, and I think you bring up a great point in Sierra, like, and Becca, you probably are experiencing it, but what Lily said is really true. Just we talk a lot about competence and the ability to solve problems, the ability to go like, hey, this is a new thing, but I can handle it. I can get my way out of anything. And traveling does do that. Even
And
locally.
being quick on your feet.
Yeah, quick on your feet, having some street smarts. So note
Even-
to families, like it's a really good practice just to. And one other thing, Lily, I think that has played into your life is a little bit of suffering. It's like driving around in an old Scout from Iowa to California with no air conditioning is not easy. It's not. I mean, you didn't really know much different, but
yeah. But even like that made me low maintenance, I think. Like where I remember a couple years back we were going on a day or a camping trip in Colorado, and we were going in for a couple days, like hiking in. And I remember I was just like, forget like making pancakes. Let's just eat granola bars. Like, I don't care. And obviously sometimes like
It's not really.
treating yourself is fine. And
yeah, and sometimes
doing
that's the
that.
funnest. Like one of the most fun parts of travel is experiencing good food. Even
Right.
if you're camping, man, like all food is better camping.
That's true, for sure.
Because you've been working harder for it.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and
I
having
think
brie and bread, like just having like cool
Billy.
snacks. Like yeah, Billy, thank you.
I think just those little oatmeal, like when you guys were talking about putting peanut butter in oatmeal, that's what I do when I'm
Delicious.
camping. Just pour the water right in those little packets and I eat that. Oh,
yeah,
so good.
even like I would think all of those character traits about competency, and the other one that I think is like shaped me to be who I am is like this love for life and like experiencing more of it and like liking uncomfortability, if that's a word, which I think is like actually a big part of who I am, and that has come from growing up traveling places.
Cool.
It's pretty crazy.
That's neat. So yeah, thanks for sharing those things. How did it affect your friendship? How was it? Because you were living with each other in one room. Let's
Yes,
just
one
let's
bedroom.
be clear. You guys shared a room.
Yes.
Yeah.
You worked in the same place. You went in the ocean together. Like you just did kind of everything
Yeah.
together. How was that managing the relationships in that context?
I feel like we got very accustomed to each other just because we were all that we had. Like,
Yeah.
just going there together. And so we just fit our lives together. Like, okay, you do this in the morning. Okay, I might do it too, or I might not. Or just different stuff like that. I also feel like we got closer. I don't, Yeah.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
That's
Kind
good.
of happens.
I
when
think
you-
it naturally
Yeah.
happens.
But you could be like,
Or you could hate
Could
each
hate each
other.
other.
that's how Luke and I are on every trip. We're like, I just can't stand
Need
this
some
guy.
space.
No.
I actually think like one of the hardest goodbyes was saying goodbye to them at the airport
Oh,
at
really?
the end. Like,
Yeah.
obviously,
Like, even though we were going back to the same place.
yeah. And we met all these amazing people, and those goodbyes were so hard. But like us three, or me and Lily split off from Sierra at the airport, and that was super sad. And then when she dropped me off at my house, that was really sad too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the close of a moment. Like that's
Yeah.
never
Yes.
going to be.
Yeah, it was
an
is,
era.
It's now in memory, like
Right,
forever.
right.
And I had a friend like kind of mention this to me the other day, that she asked me if like I had separation like anxiety, I guess, from them, because she was like, you literally moved to a different place, like almost like a married couple, and then like had to split off and just forget, like I
Go
don't
back
know.
to your normal
Yeah.
lives without
And
each other.
I was like, that's actually kind of an interesting point, that like we were doing everything together and then it just stopped.
Right.
I think I did go through points when I got back of like looking to tell you guys stuff.
Yeah. That's
Of
good.
like, oh wait, they're not right here with me. I'm here alone again. Like, oh,
Yeah.
but it was good.
That's super sad. Okay. So let's get into some culture stuff and generational things. What's interesting is on this podcast we have a Gen Xer, we have a millennial, and we have some Gen Zs, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are not millennials.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Right.
Okay, so that's interesting perspective. Gen X is pretty cool. The Latchkey kids, man. We grew up on Nirvana and Pearl Jam and just loners
No
and
clue what
rebels.
those things
okay, but we haven't done anything. Gen X, like, we haven't screwed much things up except for some young people.
Except
but
for your kids.
yeah, exactly. We also haven't done anything great. So.
There we go.
Okay. But so from this experience or before this experience, did any one of you, because you see on Instagram this kind of glorification of like I just want to I just want to travel full time
Right.
and like not have any. And it's true, millennials don't value traditional things as much. Like they don't value like stuff as much as experiences.
Stability.
And so like participation in youth sports is going down. Like a lot of those traditional kind of social structures are changing because there's this aspirational thing of like, I just want to go travel the world. I want to be independent. And so did any of you guys think about that? Like, have you been
Yeah.
tempted by that, or what has been your perspective? Sierra, you mentioned something a little bit about that before.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, probably 14, like my dream ended up like becoming that all I wanted to do was travel the world. Like I wanted to spend 11 months away from home and just go to a different country every month. And so I thought to myself, like, I want to also help people in doing that. And how do I do that? So that sparked my interest in becoming a nursing major. So I'm going to college right now to become a nurse. And so way back when I was like, oh, that's what I want to do with my life, and never be in Iowa, always be away. But then I realized like that's not super realistic. People need jobs. Like not everyone can just be beautiful and posed in every picture and make money off of that. Like you can go do all those things in different ways than just having that only be your full-time job.
Right.
And so
Or disconnected from community.
Yes,
like real
exactly.
meaningful community.
Which-
And
Yeah, I actually think that idea of like this Instagram influencer per se, I think that was kind of the opposite of our goal. I think we really wanted to make it more about like, okay, we're living here, like we're gonna be try and get a local experience
Right.
as much as we can, and we don't want to just come into this place and like pose all over, you know, upload like about their nature and then just like leave.
Right.
I think we wanted to one, show more respect than, not that those
No.
people are necessarily disrespectful,
no, but that's fine,
we didn't want it to look like it was a bigger deal than it is, because it was hard to get there. You know, it's not like we didn't just
and not
go-
every moment was beautiful.
Right.
yeah.
Eating
Does that
peanut
make
butter and
sense?
oatmeal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, so let's bring this into maybe your futures. Like, how do you think, from this experience and other experiences, Becca, this is like this last year has been a new perspective for you, which is interesting because that doesn't mean that you like reject your upbringing or that you think
Right.
your parents
Right.
did a bad job.
Yeah.
But it's just a new addition. It's a new thing that
Yes.
you have the opportunity to experience. And now the question is, what will be that value moving forward as you guys are in that stage of life, like where you're going to move to the next phase of life, maybe settle down, maybe get married someday, or be in a relationship or have kids, like whatever, or stay single forever. What will be what will be the place that you will try to bring to the table of like adventure, exploration, you know, kind of going
Yeah.
on journeys?
I would say, like, I mean, kind of same as Sierra. When I was a kid, I always thought, like, oh, my dream job would be, like, being a National Geographic, like, photographer or something like that, and just being able to travel everywhere.
Like in Walter Mitty.
Literally the movie Walter Mitty. I love
The
it.
snow
Favorite movie.
cat, whatever that guy's name is.
I just watched that.
photographer?
Comes out of
Sean O'Connell.
Sean O'Connell.
Yeah, anyways.
I've been sitting here
out of
for
the
3
snow.
months. Yeah, that's right. Great movie, by the way.
Great movie. You should definitely watch it.
When you went to
right
Iceland,
after
were you
listen to this.
envisioning that skateboarding scene?
I went down that road.
You did?
Yeah.
No
Is it
way.
insane?
With the skateboard?
We hit. So my cousin who planned the trip is a huge film nut. So we went to a bunch of spots for that.
Sweet.
How cool
We
was
didn't
that?
skate. No, we skated in a
Put some
little
rocks on your
Kia.
hands.
It's a good movie. Go watch
So
it.
rad.
I just
Yeah,
watched
I love that
it a
movie.
couple nights ago.
You like it?
Yeah.
Better or worse than Hot Rod?
That's not a question. They're both
They're
tied.
just tied. They're both amazing. Okay.
What was I saying? Oh, so that's what like I wanted and everything like that. And I remember thinking like probably a year ago or so, like actually that's actually not what I would love to do. And after like leaving Hawaii and leaving all the people that we met and all the people that like grew to become more family, it would actually be really hard to just like make all these relationships and then say goodbye to everyone.
That's interesting because the people that you met in Hawaii weren't there on an experience. That's just their life.
No.
Yeah.
They're living as a local community of
Yeah.
people
Right.
with meaningful relationships, aunts
Right.
and uncles and all this stuff, meaning friends that are valued as family.
Yeah. And so, like, I don't know if I would, like, I mean, I'll for sure make traveling a big part of my family if I have one and everything. But, like, having that balance of, like, creating community and, like, learning to love that and create other community where you go.
That's right. That's a great thing. I love
But
that.
like, it's learning that travel is not necessarily something selfish that like I'm gonna go by myself and see these things. Like the places that you see and the memories that you make, they're the best with the people that you love.
That's right.
And so
It's good
like
perspective.
merging those two, I guess.
How about you, Sierra and Becca?
I kind of took a different perspective from this summer. So I also went to Peru and stayed there for a little bit longer, and I ended up
Ooh.
having
Stop your podcast right now.
I don't think that's
Yeah,
gonna
it's like a
stop.
fire alarm going off at the Ryman Garden. So we'll just keep talking. It's all good. This will be probably really annoying as you're listening.
Is that why
to
it's
this.
so hot in here?
Okay. So thanks for that. We lost Sierra.
Thanks for
She's gone.
She's gone. She gone.
looking for that
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah, it was a false alarm, but we did lose Sierra in the fire alarm. So, no, she had to go to Okoboji or something. But I think, so we were talking about kind of how you'll integrate adventure travel, going on trips and stuff into your life moving forward. So, Becca, I believe it was
Yes.
on you.
Yeah, I think my eyes were definitely opened a lot on this trip. It was good for me. I grew up in Ames and go to school in Ames. So it was good for me to take a step back from my community and my circle that I get stuck in to see that there is a lot of the world out there and there's so many people out there in
Yeah.
other communities
That's
and
cool.
stuff. And it was just super cool since I'd never really gone on a trip alone or anything. I definitely plan on traveling a lot more, whether that's on my own or with a family or whatever, because I think we talked how it just seems to make you a little bit more well-rounded when you can
Yeah.
have those
Right.
characteristics and life skills. So I definitely plan on doing that
How
more.
about just camping? Camping is so rad to me. Like,
Yes.
I love it. Particularly more kind of rugged camping. I mean, I like the creature comforts, don't get me wrong. But more like undeveloped.
Just sleeping on a rug, using
No,
a
no,
stick
no.
for a
There's like
toothbrush.
so many like in national parks. There's so many like more what's the right word? Primitive.
Oh.
More primitive campsites. So it's like there are campsites, but it's
Right.
just a pit toilet, and they're often the most beautiful.
Right.
But they're also the most uncomfortable because you don't
Yeah.
have a bathroom, you don't have those kinds of things.
Right.
But how do you guys feel about just camping? You love it?
Absolutely.
I mean,
do?
yeah, we
You
grew
like
up
it?
doing that all the time.
Okay,
and
it's so cool.
you put up a tarp when it starts to rain.
Yeah, and what's so rad about
Yeah.
camping, because it's one thing, and about our country is there's so many beautiful places in our country. It's not easy for a family of how many kids? 9?
Yeah.
9 kids
Nine total. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
to go to Europe.
Right.
I mean, you're talking $30,000.
Right.
Like, even for our family of 6 growing up, like we traveled. We'd go explore U.S. cities. We'd go just California, Southwest, like wherever. But just it's not hard to get out and have a little adventure not far away. The Midwest is a little bit tough because Luke, you also grew up in kind of a bigger family, 4 brothers, 1 sister.
3 brothers.
3
and a
brothers,
sister.
1 sister.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We didn't. I mean, we flew to Oregon once, but otherwise it's just road trips.
You said
a
like
little
your
more.
pops doesn't love traveling.
Not
Not
especially.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't do a whole lot of like tons of camping as a family.
But you love
me
it.
and my brothers would go out
Yeah.
and do that.
And your brothers, it's actually a big part of their lives too.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
Taking. I mean, now we all take a handful of trips every year around
And
the
what's
country.
rad again, man, like you buy a vintage 4x4 or like something cool because that makes it so much cooler. But you get something like that, you get a decent tent, whatever. You're
Right.
talking outside of the vehicle for like a small family. You could spend $1,000 on and get decent gear. And then campgrounds,
Yeah.
like a lot of those primitive ones are free. Like you can, it's so affordable to go get out. And so even if you're like a young couple with young kids, you can do it. You can get out. Oh, at Estes Park, dude, there was some baby like 2 nights in a row that was like screaming like murder for like probably 45 minutes.
But they're doing it.
Yeah, they're doing it. So I was
Yeah.
stoked on that. And it didn't actually bother me too bad, but okay, so quick, we'll do some rapid fire things. Something you love about your generation, something you don't love about your generation. Luke, you too.
Uh-oh.
Do you have
Who's
yours?
first?
I have something I don't love. I would say I think it's easy for our generation to get caught up on that, like what we were talking about earlier, the like Instagram
Yeah.
life and stuff. It's really easy to say like, oh, I want to go travel, and then just live vicariously through other people and only see the highlight reel.
That's right.
You know, and not see the, oh, at least for us, it was a lot of, I mean, picking out an Airbnb itself was not easy. Like it, you know, going through all of them and looking for the right one and whatnot. But I think it's easy for a lot of people to just see the highlight reel of people's lives and think that that's it, and that there's no
And maybe
behind the
even have like
scenes.
artificial experiences.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
Not
absolutely,
authentic,
yeah.
genuine experiences.
Right.
We talk about it like there's a temptation as we even work with partners to like what's called content camping. Like you have to get good pictures. You have to like
Yeah.
represent the brands you
Yes,
work with, but it's
yeah.
like it's a challenge. You have to be very intentional for it not to for it to be a fake experience.
Right. Or just to go somewhere just for the pictures. It's
Right.
like you're not actually seeing that
Yeah.
place
Or present. You're just not present in the
Yes,
moment.
Yeah.
Okay, Lily, but you still have to come up with one thing you love. This is rapid fire.
Oh, sorry. I think one thing that I love is like how we've kind of created this space in the work environment and then just in lifestyle of like jobs, like kind of the ideal of success
Yeah,
is
it's
changing.
a little bit. Yeah,
Like
that's good.
it's okay to not have a college degree, or it's
Yeah.
okay to not have a not everyone's trying to have a 6-figure job. Like that's not really I don't know, it seems like those pathways to get different places are easier and more accepted.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, Luke, you got anything?
One thing I love, I like that, like, I don't know, for us, when we were kids, we have stories of, like, you just run down the street to your buddy. Like, it's easier to just run over there and knock on the door, like, hey, is
my
Ryan
trampoline.
home? Yeah, is Josiah home? Shout out to Josiah. That was great. I feel like kids they're just on their iPad.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's what you guys
No,
are talking
that is
about. On your
interesting.
iPads, you're just
Yeah.
calling, you're
'Cause you didn't-
texting.
I think one of the things about the early millennials, like you didn't grow up digitally native.
No, I remember, like, our first computer, Windows 95. It was,
Yeah.
like, crazy.
And
The game
didn't grow up with
sucked.
cell phones.
No,
Right.
not at all. So house phone, yeah. One thing I don't love, I'm putting in a bunch of money into Social Security. I'm never going to see that. That's
Aw,
going to be
man.
gone.
Hey, no thanks to my generation. It's not Gen X's fault. It's the baby
Okay.
boomers. Okay.
Something I like, I think that our generation has maybe the right idea, maybe the wrong idea of wanting to have fun more. Kind of what Lily was saying about like,
Yeah.
what'd you say about having fun in life? Just like always finding new ways to
Yeah.
have fun and not like getting in these routines, stuck in routine. I think
Yeah.
I do that easily, but I think it's becoming more of a thing to like make more fun out of life, find new ways to have fun in your everyday.
Yeah.
One thing for me, Gen X, I was born in 1974. So one thing about my generation is like not a lot of kids my age had like a friendship relationship with their parents. Okay, so it was more like this, not a bond servant, but just like this,
Yeah.
this authoritative, like, yeah, you do what I tell you to do, which I think that's good because it raised my generation with a little bit of respect and
Right.
value of authority and those kinds of things. But also, our generation then reacted against that and valued, like, well, I want to have a relationship with my kids.
Yeah.
That's what I like. The bad is I want to have a relationship with my kids, therefore I'm going to be best friends with my kids. Like a peer relationship instead of still being parents, establishing guidelines, passing on values. And it's kind of a way, and you see it in like some college campuses, like I do at least. It's like all the PC, political correctness, and just some of the crazy movements. That's the kids in college right now are Gen X's kids. And so I think a little too much helicopter parenting, a little too much like babying, because life is good. And when life is good and easy, you find little things to complain about and be offended about. When life is hard, you notice like the kids in Africa or anywhere in Cambodia, like different places, even in the US inner cities, they're not complaining about like, well, that offended me.
Yeah.
That post offended me. Like, it's like, who cares? Like they're busy worrying about like, how am I going to eat today?
Yeah.
How am I going to make it today? Those kinds of things. So, okay. I think we'll just wrap it there. So, any last advice for if young girls are listening to this, or families? So, parents my age who have daughters in their teenage years. Any encouragement to families today?
I would say one thing that I appreciated is that I felt like that I could pursue an adventure like this and that my parents would be stoked on it, and that's what happened. And so, like, raising your kids to be smart, street smart, whatever,
Oh yeah.
and then like being excited for them to go and do things like that.
Start to
that's-
spread their wings a little bit.
Yeah,
Baby's got to leave the nest.
that's right.
But at the same time, some families like just boot them out of the nest. Like 17, man, you're
Yeah,
like
yeah,
18th birthday, you're done. So anyway, cool. Okay.
But yeah, that and I mean, like, we got a lot of people who, when we were telling them about it, they were like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing! Wow, I would have never thought about that. You guys are so brave." We're like, yeah, it takes some work, it takes some
Yeah.
researching, and like you actually have to work for it, but like it's not too like you just got to do it,
Yeah.
and it's not
One
too
thing I
bad.
do want to hear your answer. But one thing I've learned from you guys is, if you want the dream to dirt reality to happen, you have to put in some hard work before in preparation. Because if you guys didn't work and save up money,
Right.
you would have like gone like, we want to go to Hawaii, and the world would have said, so
Where's your
what?
money? Yeah.
So does a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right.
But you worked hard. You saved your money. You
Yeah.
didn't spend it on frivolous things. Maybe you went thrift shopping instead of like super high-end brand shopping, whatever. But that's an important principle that I haven't really thought about. Going from dream to dirt, well, you got to lay the groundwork of some hard work. It's like maintenance on the terribles. You got to do that work to enjoy the
Sure,
trip.
sure.
Okay, advice to families thinking about this.
Yeah, I would kind of just back up what Lily said. It's definitely, I mean, it does take that like research, and you have to have some money going into it. But I would say like you kind of just have to get out there and just do it. For us, it was just buying our plane tickets, and we're like, okay, well, there's no turning back now. You know, whether we find a place to stay or we don't, but now we're definitely going.
And let me ask you one question on that. 'Cause this is, I think, inspiring to people and motivating. How much money, so you spent X amount of money,
Yep.
you made X amount of money. What was the net cost of the trip?
For 1,300, I
Yeah.
think in all.
So you spent out of pocket about $1,300
Yep.
for 7 weeks in Hawaii?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Which isn't,
That's
yeah.
pretty darn good.
And
Pretty good.
working before, so I worked the first few weeks
Yep.
of summer. We all did, I think.
Yeah.
And then going and working while we're there.
And then we made it back.
We made it back and then some.
Yeah.
So
Meaning the $1,300 is including the money you made in Hawaii. You were still out of pocket, or did
no,
you?
like out of pocket spent 1,300
Oh, wow,
on like
and then you-
Airbnb, and
yeah.
then we gained back 1,300.
even groceries and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So airline ticket, Airbnb, groceries. Out. You spent $1,300.
Yep.
That's pretty. Oh, times 3 because you shared a room.
Yes.
No, well, we split the room by
Right.
3 people.
Did you spend about the same?
Yeah, we all split about the same. I'd say it came out to about 15.
And you made almost $1,000 when you were there.
Yeah,
So
and
net cost of the
no.
trip was like $300 to $400.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
and we actually made quite a few tips. So then we didn't have to spend.
So no. So what was nice about that, really quick? We like could budget like our money that we got from the job. We put that in envelopes and set that aside, and then
After paying
our
taxes.
tips.
Yes.
Our tips were what we could like spend throughout the week. So we got like 15, 18 bucks in tips for
To buy
a little
seashells.
shift. No, wait. And that was like our week's worth of like spending money.
That's the
Bus
fun
money.
That's
or
amazing.
even like bus money.
So
and
that's even
stuff.
more encouraging.
Yeah.
So if you can save a little bit of money, you can hack
Do
it,
it.
pro tip it, and have 7 to 8 weeks. And how much was your Iceland trip, if you don't mind me asking? Did you go on the cheap or did you?
Yeah, it was plane tickets were $220 round
So
trip.
good.
Iceland's
That's
dirt
amazing.
cheap.
Iceland's
Yeah.
dirt cheap, and then it was just groceries and gas and rental car because we camped. I guess we Airbnb'd
Yeah,
like
a little bit.
beginning, middle, and end.
But still, you did it on a good budget.
it was
So,
pretty cheap.
and that's what the point of this podcast is it's possible. Young person, as a family, single dude, whatever, you can get out there and have an enriching experience. Thank you, girls, for sharing your story. Sierra, thank you, and sorry we lost you. Hopefully you're okay.
Dead.
Luke, as always, thank you. And those of you that are listening or watching, thanks for supporting the podcast. This is, again, a passion project for us. Like, we love doing it. We love talking to people and just sharing stories with you. So thanks for putting up with my annoying voice. Not the rest of them. You guys have nice voices. Thanks. Okay, till next time, we're signing off. We'll talk to you next time.